Hello and welcome to the Strong Suit Podcast, where we focus on the people part of your business. Every single episode, I feature a world-class expert on talent and recruiting so that you can build a company filled with rock stars. And I am so pumped, and I do mean pumped, as you'll find out in a minute, to speak with my guest today, Sandra Gault. Now, Sandra's based in New York. She's the CEO and founder of True Gault. That's G-A-U-L-T, which is a super cool high-tech fashion company that combines advanced technology with very simple and gorgeous, elegant shoes for women that are custom made. You download this app, you take 3 simple images, and the thing somehow spits out these shoes. She's going to tell us how she does that. I can't figure it out. Comes with a 100% guarantee, of course. And what's interesting about Sandra's background is she's really leveraging her experience as an executive at Kodak Imaging. Along the way, she also led marketing for a telecom company. We'll talk a little about that. And we're going to talk about some of the challenges of how you merge together right brain people and left brain people, because obviously this is a very creative business, right? Making shoes, but also a very data-driven business, of course, using technology to size those shoes so they are perfect. So I'm so excited to welcome Sandra Gault. How are you, Sandra?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Jeff, for having me. I love your podcast and I love your book, by the way.
You're very kind.
Thank you very much. It's really fabulous.
You're very kind. It's super to have you on the show. I've got a million questions because I can't figure out how you do this. But why don't you just start with 60 seconds about the process, right? So that people understand the context of the product. And then we'll kind of spend about 15, 20 minutes on the people part of your business. But give people the context. How do you make a shoe?
Great. I'd love to. And, it's all about people when it comes down to whatever business you're in, right, Jeff? I mean, yeah, you can have the best idea, but if you don't have good people behind it, it doesn't go anywhere. So right. At True Gault, we are definitely a high-tech fashion company that leverages 3D imaging technology to scan women's feet. Like you said, you just take 3 selfies of each foot. We take those actual photographs and create a 3D image of each specific foot. A right foot and a left foot.
Because I assume the feet are not always the same. I used to hear one foot is half size bigger than the other.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Out of the couple thousand of women we already have in our system, I can tell you now one set of feet, left and right, are the same size. They're always half size too long or too wide in either direction. And so that causes lots of issues with fit. So what we do is we scan your feet, we get the digital 3D image of your foot. You just go ahead and buy whatever shoe you want from us, and we make that to fit your left foot and your right foot. We don't do shoe sizes. It's all done mathematically. And then we quote that we'll ship the shoes from our factory in Spain in 4 weeks. We usually do it under 3, and we guarantee fit. So if they don't fit, we remake them. But when the shoes come, you put them on, the app opens up, and you give feedback via the app on exactly how the fit formula works. And you're actually building your own personal fit formula. And now you have your own foot ID that these shoes will be guaranteed to fit. And because we do everything digitally, you could buy a pair of shoes from us today, and 5 years later, you can buy the exact same shoes again because we have your digital pattern on file.
Brilliant. So, it's like a fingerprint for feet.
It is.
It's a feet per print. Okay.
So, exactly.
So now I got even more questions, but we're not going to talk too much about the business or the product, but I do want to understand, essentially, you're not really keeping any inventory, right? You're custom making my shoes.
Exactly. So the unit economics work really nice because you pay for the shoes up front. We have no inventory. We make to order. The shoes come. And we don't care about returns. If something comes back, we have lots of feet that we can match those shoes up because we know the inside dimension of every shoe we make, and we know the outside dimension of every foot.
Are there thousands of combinations or hundreds of combinations?
It depends on the style, but usually hundreds. And we're really a mathematics company doing, like you said, both the left brain and right brain side of the equation. So we're worrying about data, yet we have style, and then you have the experience that the customer goes through. And we are flipping the shoe industry upside down, which is a growing industry in this, in apparel. Shoes are the one place that is really growing because women like to buy shoes, and we're focused right now just on women's shoes, but we can do men's shoes, we can do kids, we can do whatever.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
And so we like to consider ourselves geeks in high heels.
Geeks in high heels. That I think I saw a movie once about that. But anyway, so
Yeah.
tell the listeners a little about your personal backstory, because you started this company. When did you start the business?
Yeah, we started in 2014, and I have a background working, as you mentioned earlier, at Kodak in digital imaging for several years, and IBM before that.
Got it.
And this is my third startup.
So
this is the
you
one
were really uniquely suited to start this company with your imaging background, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, I am yes. I also love fashion. So this really came from a real problem that most women have, which is over 90% of us are walking around in ill-fitted shoes, especially high heel shoes, right? And we love the way it looks. We love it the way they make us feel empowered and sexy. But after about an hour, we feel like they're like, human torture devices sometimes.
So I usually find that when it comes to successful leaders, they have some kind of driving inspiration or some kind of personal mission. Is yours simply to make women more comfortable on their feet all day, or was your mom a flight attendant? I mean, like what was this is a kind of a bit unusual passion, right? What is it?
Yeah. So our real mission here at True Gault is to make each woman feel beautiful, empowered, and confident, one shoe at a time. And that comes from my own personal experience of when I wear shoes and I go into a business meeting, I feel great. I feel better, right? And it's also a personal investment. We as women, we're measured by height, weight, size, age, how long our hair is all day long.
Yeah.
And at True Gault, we don't do shoe size. We do your size. So when you get a pair of shoes from us, you get this personal stamped ID number.
Yep.
There's no size. And so it takes away all of that measuring, and it allows a woman to realize that she is beautiful just the way she is.
So it's really empowering women and allowing them to do their best work, to be their best person, but ironically through their feet and their legs and up, right? It kind of supports the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. I think it's brilliant.
We think confidence starts from the feet up, and it's also an investment in women. We invest, we're runners sometimes. Some of us are runners, some of us are, skiers. We invest in running sneakers, ski boots, right? But we spend most of our time in high heels, and this is a great opportunity to really make that work.
Okay, so now the listeners understand the context, the business, the mission, the product. I won't ask you your revenue, but can you give a sense of how many customers or how many women have bought these shoes over time?
Yeah, we have thousands of customers now, and it continues to grow month over month. And what's really nice is once women are digitally identified in our system, they only have to scan once.
Sure. And then repurchase is easy.
Yeah, it's super easy, and it's high.
High. I would think your lifetime value of a customer is great. So what the listeners are going to be shocked to know how many full-time employees you have. I'll let you tell them how many.
Yeah, we only have less than 6 people.
Less than 6.
And then we have a factory that we have a relationship with in Spain.
Yeah.
And they have 11 people.
So for any entrepreneur that thinks you need to go out and raise $10 million to hire an army of people to start a technology company that disrupts an industry, a $60 billion industry in a year, what would you tell them? You
don't have to do that. You definitely don't have to do that.
You just got to be creative.
You got to be creative, and you need a different mindset. One of the great things about what you do is recruiting people. And most of us, all of us did not come from the shoe industry. We came from different disciplines. So we kind of came in at it like 90 degrees. Yeah. And in the shoe industry, we found out very antiquated, and doing the same thing for the last 100 years. So you can't get the factories and the mindset of those people to think differently. We're known as the Warby Parker of high heels. Maybe that's a good example.
That's all you got to say. It makes total sense, right? And you're approaching it from a totally different vantage point, which I assume means you need to recruit totally different kind of people. So maybe that's the next question then. How did you learn how to hire people? Did someone teach you? Did you have a great mentor? Was it trial and error? How did you learn how to do this?
For me, it's been trial and error, which has been not a good thing, because I have to admit that there are times where you hired the wrong people and you realize too late that was the wrong person. Yeah. What I've been doing now is making sure that I triple check with people who are my mentors or my board advisors to get them involved early on the type of people that I want.
In terms of defining the person, or actually you have them interviewing?
Interviewing and finding.
Got it.
But usually it's also very involved in the interviewing process. And I've learned through the School of Hard Knocks, I've had people come in that I think, oh, I love this person, they're great. And then I find out like, oh my gosh, they can't do PowerPoint, or they can't do something that I'm like, how did I miss this? Right.
Yeah.
And every CEO, you feel like like a loser sometimes when you have somebody that you think is great and then you find out that they aren't that great. And
have you done anything in the process to address that, to address those surprises?
Yeah, I have. So I've gotten a lot better at it. First of all, I like to, when I interview people, is go spend a lot of time interviewing them. And it's not so much about the skill sets that they bring to the table, but I'd like to ask questions like, tell me something that you could teach me today in this interview that you do really well. I don't care if it's cooking pasta from scratch, or analyzing the stock market, or how to raise a puppy dog.
And what are you looking for? What does their answer reveal to you?
I'm looking for thought process. I'm looking for, are they able to take something that they're passionate about and communicate it to someone else?
Or are they all over the place and jumbled?
Oh, yeah, exactly. Or maybe they can't answer that question. And if they can't answer that question, it kind of tells me that they're not really an open personality. And when you're a small team, you sort of end up becoming a family, and you want people to say, hey, I'm having, you want to be compassionate for people, and you want to have a connection with them. And if they can't communicate something cool about what they do, like I'm a big skier. And if I was on the other side, I would tell somebody about how I ski and how I would teach how people to ski, right? It has nothing to do with the job, but it has to do with how I can visualize things. And I'm always then testing soft skills and hard skills. I've had experiences with people who have really, really good hard skills, but they're terrible on the soft skills. And it feels like they have dead bodies all over them, right? They come
in an
with
early
a
stage
graveyard.
company, that's vital.
It's vital, like you piss off the vendors, or you can't get communication, or, so it is a unique person. And that's why you can do more with less when you have the right team.
So it sounds like, from what you said, Sandra, your process is source and find candidates. You interview them. You have some of your investors, maybe board members, interview them. Then you go through this little exercise that you described, which is teach me something.
Yep.
Any other steps before you make the offer?
Yeah, there's one step that I'm now going to add in, and that is having a really great industrial psychologist that I know, who can then do an interview, and what they're looking for is breaking down that personality, something that I might not see, some insight that this person has, a little twitch, or, they don't like working.
They weren't hugged enough as a child, or whatever. But you're talking about their DNA. You're not talking about a written test, more of an interview.
Yeah, it really does come down to the connection, the personality. And then after that, I'll give them some short project to do, something that, doesn't require a lot of time, but something that does reflect something that they would do in the job. Yeah. And ask them to provide it back to me. And it's, again, looking for thought process, organization.
Right. It's the test drive, which we talk so much about on the show. And it's the number one most predictive thing, yet most people don't do it.
Yeah. And you like, here, we have an iPhone app. Okay. Yeah. It right now is an iPhone app. Somebody comes in that wants to interview for us. The first thing I say is, so did you download the app and scan your feet?
You shouldn't even have to ask that. You should say, what did you think of the app? And if they say, I haven't had a chance, I would end the interview.
Yes, that's exactly.
That person has no common sense.
Yes, exactly, Jeff. And so I've actually gotten to the point where it's like, fine, you don't want to even download the app and do this. Forget it. And they might not have an iPhone, but 50%, over 55% of the people in the population have one. So there's someone they might know. Download it, ask, get ready, be prepared. And the other thing is, you've got to live the product. If you're a woman, you have to wear our product.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
Why would you not? Like, I made a mistake where brought someone in I thought was great, but she was like, I don't wear high heels. And I was like, okay, fine. Thanks very much. Move on. Like, nobody would hire me because, I don't like, if there's a certain food product I don't eat, and I'm not going to go work for that food company.
Of course, you self-select out, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Tell
The last thing that I learned, which is really maybe some helpful for some CEOs out there, is if it's not a solid yes, pass. And that means the no's are easy. Like,
when in doubt, throw it out.
Yeah, when in doubt, throw it out. Like,
but tell us why. You've obviously learned the hard way and made a mistake. Can you give an example of a hiring mistake without naming names where your gut said pass and you still went? Oh, first of all, why didn't you pass? What were you desperate?
Because I was desperate and I was under pressure.
Yeah.
To get I needed help, right? And whenever that happens, those are really bad scenarios.
Yeah, you settle. You wind up settling.
You settle, and this, like, on a scale of 0 to 100, you want somebody above 90, right?
Sure.
Those are the people you want, right?
Sure.
And it's easy. Anybody below 50, it's kind of easy to figure out. You got to go, right? Yeah. But it's when you hire that person that's at 75 to 85, right? Yeah. They're like pretty much doing 3/4 of what you need, but
yeah, they're almost there, but not quite.
Yeah, and there's that 1/4 where you really need them to do their job, and they just fall short.
And Sandra, when that's happened to you, have you typically missed more on the DNA, or have you typically missed more on the competencies? In other words, they come in, they're doing 75 to 85%, and you can teach them the rest. It's a pain in the ass, or they're not quite a fit and DNA match, and therefore you can't teach that stuff. What's usually the bigger miss?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. I think it's the DNA. I miss on the DNA, because I think if you have the aptitude and the attitude, you pretty much can learn anything. And it's when they miss one of those two things, like they hate Excel, or they don't like to follow a process, or they get frustrated because we keep asking them, did you follow the 3 steps first?
Or they're not open to coaching and feedback, or
yeah, they're not open to coaching, or they don't even hear themselves. Like, it's usually with that soft skill, like they don't even hear how they communicate sometimes, or they're not listening to what people are saying. And I'm guilty of some of that too at times.
Yeah.
But or being able to take constructive criticism, they get really defensive, or, and then you start going, okay, wait a minute here. We're all on the same boat.
How long does it usually take you to realize you made a mistake?
Well, sometimes it takes me longer than I want it to. Sometimes it's right away.
Yeah.
And in the past, it would take me a while to pull the trigger. But here's, you start to see triggers. Like, what I also see is like somebody coming to me and they talk about someone else, and then that person comes and talks to me about them.
Right.
I'll put them in a room and say, listen, you guys got to get together. Here's the issue. And if they can't, I'll get rid of both of them. Like, I've learned to just get rid of both of them, because they're both part of the solution.
Yeah.
Part of the problem.
Neither one is stepping up to solve the problem.
Right. Exactly.
Playing daddy and mommy. So that's cases where it didn't go so well. Let's end on a positive note. Tell us about a Rockstar hire that you made over the past 12 months. So you don't have to name names unless you want to, but what was the role or the type of role, and where did you find them, and how did you know that you had a Rockstar?
Well, I think there's a couple of scenarios, and it's an interesting one. And the first one I'm going to talk to you about, without naming names, and I love all the people I've hired, believe me, and I respect everybody that has been here and hasn't been here and is gone. But this particular one, she was young but super talented, and but nobody gave her the credit. But when I spoke to her, I could tell how she thought. Her talent was there, and it was a risk. Everybody's like, why are you doing this? This woman doesn't have even a college education. But she really is a rock star in her own right. And she's very creative. She's right brain and left brain. And she almost needs more excitement to keep going. She needs more creative stuff. And so that was really awesome. And she would find solutions and get things done. And the second one was a woman who really knows how to communicate with customers and can handle and knows the stresses of a startup. Because listen, one day you walk in and you're on this high note, you're feeling like, man, this thing's taking off. And the next day, or even the next hour, you walk in and you got, oh my God, we're going bankrupt. This is terrible. What am I doing wrong? And she's the even keel, comes in, and she's like the beacon. And I didn't expect, I saw that in her when I interviewed, but it really comes out nicely when things are, you know, everybody's kind of like at each other's throats sometimes, like, hey, why didn't we do it this way? Or
Yeah.
everybody
He's like a
wants to.
stabilizing force.
Yeah, and
It's great.
that has really helped with the chemistry of the team. And I
Great.
think so that's been really good. I think for me, for a learning standpoint, is as a startup, you're always working in the business when you need to be working on the business, and I'm always struggling between the two. So sometimes I'm in the business so much that I'm not leading the team as well as I could be. So I always step back and I'll tell the team, and I have a rule with the team where they can tell me, hey, Sandra, you're sounding stressed. You're not leading us. And I'll be like, okay, everybody, drinks tonight. Let's go out. Let's relax. And then we can regroup tomorrow.
But it's good for people. It's good that people realize they can tell you that, right?
Yes.
And kind of be vulnerable and say, we need you to communicate more. And that tightens. So that's a good indicator that you got to step back and communicate again.
Yeah, and I often tell people, please tell me. And it's hard. I think it's very hard for some people to
It's
say,
hard to
oh,
tell
I got
the
to.
boss.
Yeah, tell the boss that she's a pain in the butt today, or she's not communicating, right?
The good news is you live in New York, so I'm sure your team is not shy.
No, they're not. But we did have an intern. We did have an intern that was really quite shy about that. And the thing that I didn't calibrate myself well on is I treat everybody the same way in that regard, when I should have realized, hey, she can't come to me, but I can feel it. I can feel it in the energy of the room. That
you can't expect that of an 18-year-old or 20-year-old to have the chutzpah to do that. Sandra, I give you so much credit. Not only have you built an amazing team, so small yet fierce, you're turning this category upside down. How can people learn more about True Gault? How can they download the app, order the shoes, all that stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the best way is to go to our website. That's truegault.com. That's T as in Tom, RUE, G as in George, AULT.com. Or they can go to the Apple Store and just type in True Gault and download the app and go from there. And we're always here. Just reach out to us at support@truegault.com. And there's a shoeologist waiting and ready to talk to you at any time.
The shoeologists. I love it.
A shoeologist, yeah.
Thank you so much for making the time today.
Thank you, Jeff. And thanks for keeping us and helping us on our end, finding recruiting and being better leaders.